Hello people of the VC, it's Andy Cloudy Mulder for a general collection update video this time around. Something a little bit different in that everything I'm going to show is from the 70s, and that's different for me because I don't really collect anything from the 70s pretty much. So I got into music when I was about 14, a lot later than some people, and I got bit by the 80s heavy metal bug, and I didn't look back. I was hungry just to pick up anything around the 80s, and at the time I considered a lot of the stuff that came in the 70s just to be old music, and it just wasn't of any interest to me, and I wasn't going to spend my time looking back for the history of rock and metal. Obviously there's been a lot of classics from that time, and I know a lot of the music just because it's difficult 40 years down the line listening to sort of rock radio and all sorts not to pick up and be quite familiar with some songs. It's just that it's not a decade where I've really picked up a lot on vinyl. However, in the last couple of months I've got quite a few records, and so I thought I'd collect them together and do them in a single video. So without further ado, first one I have is 12-inch single, actually. Pick up from my local record store. This is a 12-inch single. It's a limited edition 3-track 12-inch single of Take on the World from Killing Machine album, and it's backed up with White Heat Red Hot and a large version, a normal sized version but live, of Starbreaker from the Agora Ballrooms, Cleveland, Ohio, May 1978. Priestess is someone that one of those bands that when I see singles, I will pick them up. Take on the World is not one of my favourite songs. I guess it's a bit of an anthem. I think there were probably better songs off Killing Machine to be singles, but White Heat Red Hot and Starbreaker are great tracks to have. So this is on the UK CBS label. There we have it. Nice, another 12-inch single to add to my Judas Priest collection. Next up, I bought this when I met up with Greg the Egg Blackmore Rules in Birmingham a few months ago. It's been sitting in my inbox. Spun it a few times now. That's AC/DC's If You Want Blood, their live album from 1978. This is a Atlantic Records pressing. Classic Atlantic label. Really good live album. I think this was about their 5th or 6th album that they released, so they had a fair amount of good material to work from by the time it came to doing a live album. A couple of my favourite tracks from my favourite AC/DC album, High Voltage. So High Voltage is on there, The Jack is on there, but some other great songs like Let There Be Rock, Whole Lot of Rosie, Rocker. So yeah, very good. Enjoyed giving this a spin. Ready to go back on the shelf now, but I'll get this out again. It's good. Next up was some VCLT, again AC/DC, VCLT from James Griffiths this time around. A bit of a surprise he sent me, but so Highway to Hell. This is a Columbia Records pressing from 2003. Obviously, originally it's from 1979. It's a European pressing. It's a remastered version, and it sounds really, really good. I remember this from school. I went to a church school, and Highway to Hell was kind of a little bit taboo. No one actually came out and said you couldn't have albums like this at school. I think a lot of it was just kids' imagination running wild. But there seemed to be like an underground movement of people trading copies of AC/DC Highway to Hell, and the cover always kind of excited me and scared me a little at the same time when I was about 11 or 12. I had a copy of this a lot earlier than when I was into rock music, just because it was, kind of school contraband, I guess. As copies of the tapes were traded on the quiet. So yeah, but great album. Thanks again, James, for that. This edition actually comes, so the inner sleeve has got some nice photos and a little bit of a biography of AC/DC at the time and what went on in putting the album together. So that's really nice to have. Obviously, Bon Scott era vocals, and because this isn't on Atlantic, it's a custom label for the repress. But as I say, it's I think they've done a good job on the remastering, from what I remember. But I've never owned an original version of this to do a comparison. So feel free to correct me if you think I'm talking a little bollocks there. Next up, the next two are actually also VCLTs I've had. I've shown them in videos as and when I've got them, but now they've been sitting in my. I kind of have an inbox where I try to listen to things at least 2 or 3 times before I move them onto my shelves. So I'm not putting anything away and forgetting I've got it and have never heard it. These were both from Blackmore Rules from my trip down to Birmingham. First up is BTO Japan Tour Live, 1977, Mercury Records. This is a Canadian pressing. There we go. I didn't think I would like this as much as I do. As I say, never been a massive fan of 70s hard rock, but my taste is changing. I'm getting older. I'm willing to kind of go back and listen to things that I probably would have discounted before. And I'm glad I did with this. I would never have picked this up. So thanks to Greg for finding this and passing it on. Some cool, good tracks on here. Don't Get Yourself in Trouble probably isn't the best track or the hardest track, but I really like just really like the style of it. The guitars on it, 4-wheel drive, Taking Care of Business. Some really, really good hard rock. Probably more well, it is 70s hard rock, isn't it? Yeah. So there's more 70s hard rock than 80s, but that's stating the bloody obvious, isn't it? I do like the label. This one, so the Skyscraper for the Mercury label. Also looks like it's been printed with a typewriter as well. Pretty cool. And again, the next one up is also a live album, also from 1977, and also live in Japan. And that is the Runaways. So there we go. Can't quite get it all in shot. That's a great album cover. And Dave Peterson, if you're looking for your album, Greg gave it to me. So what do I think of the Runaways? So some great live pictures here. I cannot help but compare the Runaways with my favourite all-girl combo, Girl School, and I know there's a lot of love for the Runaways. I do like this album, but I kind of end up wishing I'd listened to Girl School instead. So it's a keeper. I mean, I'm going to listen to it again. I still probably need to give it a couple more goes to really absorb it. But yeah, so this is the first Runaways I've actually owned. I don't think I own anything by the solo either when they split up after this. So other avenues for me to explore, and there's plenty of those. Again, this is on the same Skyscraper Mercury label. Again, a Canadian pressing. Now, next up is a band that might surprise quite a few people, especially those my age, especially those into hard rock and heavy metal. So I, up until recently, in the last month, I don't own any Kiss albums, vinyl, CD, tapes, nothing. A band that has never really appealed to me at all. I know it's a lot of bands, it's not their favourite bands, but they've got a lot of great memories. I don't know if it's that they just weren't as big in the UK or maybe Europe. The makeup put me off when I was younger. I remember once digging in a record shop in Cardiff when I was a teenager, and just seeing the sheer number of Kiss albums that were out there, and thinking, I wouldn't even know where to start looking, and they've never really been that interesting. But digging in Vinyl Villains, I came across Kiss Alive and Kiss Alive 2. Now, I think had I only found one of them, either one, I probably wouldn't have picked it up. But as they were both there, I thought, what the hell, let's get me some Kiss and let's see what all the fuss is about. So I did. So can be hit and miss introducing yourself to a band properly through live albums. It worked for me with Maiden and a few other bands. So I thought I'd give it a go. Anyway, first up, Kiss Alive. So this is on Casablanca label. This is from, obviously, this is 1975. This is a 1975 repress. And it's a German issue. And what strikes me most about this is I was under the impression that in German pressings all the S's were changed, and I've seen on Discogs other German pressings of this album with the S's have been updated here, and even on the drum as well. But yeah, very much you see the German there. Maybe one of you guys out there can. I had a quick Google search, but I couldn't find anything specifically about this one as to whether this was before the ruling, or there was some exception, or maybe this was pressed in Germany for distribution in another country. I don't know. One thing that did surprise me is I know more Kiss songs than I gave myself credit for. Probably a couple of them through covers. And some of them I wouldn't have been able to tell you what they were called, but I recognised them from the tunes. So I wasn't as Kiss ignorant as I perhaps thought. So Parasite is one. Anthrax did a cover of that on a B-side for a 12-inch single I've got. And Cold Gin, I think, is impossible for an album to be 40 years old and not to have heard Cold Gin enough times to know all the words off by heart. Anyway, I've made myself spin this a lot. It's okay. It's maybe if I'd first heard it 40 years ago, or when a lot of the other guys in the VC did, and it it was new and it was exciting, I would probably have a different opinion of it. But as it is, it's kind of okay. It's not one I think I will spin a lot. It is in fantastic condition, I've got to say, for considering it's 41 years old. So it's on the Casablanca Camel label. Focus. Double album, both records with the same label. And then, as I say, so Kiss Alive, 1977. Again, Casablanca. This one I've kept. So this one originally, you probably can't see that, but if you look really closely on here, it says that it came with a 4-color 8-page booklet and a sheet of tattoos. Now those aren't there, and someone has tried very cunningly to colour in the label to make it look like it's not there, and it's barely visible. What a fantastic job they've done there. I'm going to probably try and take that off. I've got some stuff to remove labels. It looks like someone's already had a go. So I might, if it looks like I can try and repair that, I will. Otherwise, I'll leave it on because I'm not that fussed. I prefer this as a live album to the first one. That back cover just freaks me out. Not because Gene Simmons has got the blood coming in, but it's just that this picture in context with the other three just doesn't fit at all. It makes me think it's just an awful cover because of that. And if they all had blood coming out their eyes and nose and mouth or what have you, then it wouldn't be so bad. But yes. Anyway, inside, again, superb condition considering its age. I mean, I'm happy to have these two in my collection. Will I be buying any more Kiss studio albums? Probably not, to be honest with you. There's plenty of other stuff I'd rather get first. There's the labels on here with Kiss on the Casablanca label this time. But I'm kind of glad I've got them. I'm kind of glad I dipped my toe in the water. But yeah, the next bunch. Now this was a bit of a surprise. So as well as buying the Kiss, which is 77, I went in, I go digging, and I go digging to look for 80s records, and I came out of the record shop with about 8 70s records. The next bunch are all from the same band. So I was flicking through, and I was going through the R section, and I came across Rainbow's first album. Flicked past it, and there was Rainbow's second album. Flicked past it, and there was the third album. Flicked past it, and there was the fourth album. I was thinking, hold on a second here. And it turned out there was, what, 6 Rainbow albums going from 75 to 81. And I thought, now's the time to break my my duck with Rainbow. Although I do have Straight Between the Eyes, what, from about 82 or 83. I've never picked up or particularly gone out and looked for any of the 70s Rainbow, which is a bit surprising considering Dio was on most of those albums, and I really like Dio's work. In fact, there's quite a few, going through these albums, quite a few Rainbow songs which I kind of assumed were Dio. I've got them on, he's done them on various live albums and other compilations and covers of the Rainbow songs. That there were some of them I was actually surprised to see they were indeed Rainbow songs. So enough waffling. First up, and all these are in great condition, and the prices were insane. I mean, we're not talking, you know, they were probably at least about $5 each, but considering someone had obviously sold a whole collection. Now this, you can see the shininess on this cover. It seems to have like a quite a stiff plastic outer like laminate on it, which has shrunk a little, so it's got a bit vent in there. But and you can hear it crackling when you open it. There we go. But other than that, it's, I mean, it's, I'm not going to open it up fully, but awesome, great photos here, superb condition, as I say, for 1975. This is on the, this is UK pressing. In fact, all these are going to show are UK pressings, and this one's on the Oyster label. I mean, great tracks on here. Man on the Silver Mountain, If You Don't Like Rock and Roll, Temple of the King. Yeah, good album. So there we go, and the Oyster label. 1 year in, and I still can't get my left and rights when looking at the camera. This is quite a nice label. Next up, I know is a lot of people's favourite Rainbow album. So Rainbow Rising from 1976, again on the Oyster label, UK pressing. That was wondering, is this really an LP? I mean, there's only 6 tracks on it, and it's 33 minutes long. So is this really an EP? I don't know. I'm not going to get into that argument though. Again, it's a superb condition. Still got its shine on it. Only has the lyrics to Stargazer in there, but yeah, it's a great album. I think this one showcases Ritchie Blackmore really well. But also quite keyboardy. There's the red Oyster label. So next up was a double live album, also on the Oyster label, On Stage from 1977. There you see there's the side 2 and side 3 only actually have 1 track on, and side 4 has 2. So, but again, this is the one where of all the ones I've got where the vinyl is probably just a VG rather than sort of VG plus and better. But I couldn't leave it in the shop. I was saying to somebody on Facebook, it's like if you found a sack of drowning puppies, would you just save the cute ones, or would you save them all? And I did my bit, and I saved them all. Instant Rainbow Collection, which is kind of nice to have. It would have taken me years to actually get around to buying these, and I've been on a bit of a rainbow kick for the last 2 or 3 weeks since having picked these up. And here the inner sleeves are all in pretty good nick. They've both got, someone's taped up the split at the bottom. But other than that, great condition. And there's the other inner. Some great live shots and a bit of a band collage. Okay, sorry, we're getting a bit long. My favourite of the bunch I've picked up is Long Live Rock and Roll. I think this is probably my favourite because it's the one that sounds the most like a Dio album rather than, I guess, a Ritchie Blackmore Rainbow album, which he probably wouldn't like anyone saying. But also the last album that Dio was on with Rainbow, 1979, on Polydor, this time around rather than Oyster. Again, superb condition, gatefold, lovely stuff. So yeah, Long Live Rock and Roll. The Shed, Sensitive to Light. The only damp one on here I say is Rainbow Eyes. I mean, the record ends on a bit of a quiet and peters out to a bit of a, not a favourite, not a fan of that one. That also comes with the original lyric sheet. And you can tell, I mean, the person who had these before did look after them really well. Quite often when I pick up even 80s albums that are in the original either polylined or paper sleeves, they're in really bad state. But even this is, you know, in excellent condition. Let's say just a standard red Polydor label, moved away from the Oyster. Next up, so after Dio came Graham Bonnet, joined on. So I've got a bit of a cold, keeps scratching my nose. Graham Bonnet on vocals for Down to Earth in 1979, his one and only album with Rainbow before Jolene Turner replaced him. Now this is the songs on here. So All Night Long and Since You've Been Gone are the songs that I remember about Rainbow in the sort of early 80s, and those are actually songs that would have put me off going back and checking Rainbow. I didn't really like them at the time. They were just on commercial radio, pop radio as well. Didn't really click with me. They weren't the metal sound that I was looking for, and that kind of this album is probably the album that put me off checking out Rainbow in any more details. It didn't even click that that Dio was would have been in the band earlier on. But as it happens, I've been listening to this a few times. I really like this now. It's amazing how my tastes are changing. In fact, I went to see Graham Bonnet band a couple of weeks ago in Edinburgh, and that was really good. It was a really small, sweaty club venue. His band was really good. He played a mixture of some of his new stuff, his Graham Bonnet band, which I hadn't heard before. He played 4 tracks off this album, so All Night Long, Eyes of the World, Since You've Been Gone, and Danger Zone were the ones he played off here. He played songs from his time at MSG and Alcatraz as well. And given that he's 69 years old now, I looked up, he did a pretty good job. I don't think the venue did him any favours. They were quite small, and the sound didn't. I don't think was or the PA wasn't necessarily the best for him. But you know, it was a really enjoyable evening, and a special shout out to Conrad Pesinato. I think that's how it's pronounced. Probably butchered it, but his guitarist, Brazilian guy. He did a great job. I mean, considering he's having to emulate the likes of Malmsteen, Schenker, and Blackmore, he did a great job. So that was a thoroughly enjoyable evening, seeing Graham Bonnet and hearing a few classic songs from Rainbow, MSG, and Alcatraz getting pounded out. Anyway, back to this record. This one actually came with quite a few goodies, and this is the clear vinyl version that came out as well. So there's a few merch flyers. This is for the previous records, and one for t-shirts, sweatshirts, caps. You can get a t-shirt for £4. So pretty good. And the inner sleeve, again in superb condition. And finally, the clear vinyl, which from consider as 1979. This actually sounds pretty good, and it's in superb condition. Looks like it's barely been played. There we go. So I've waffled on for a lot longer than I thought. I was going to show some books as well, but I'm going to cut it short there. I'm sure there's another video. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think of these albums down here. Certainly any information on that Kiss German pressing, I'd be interested to hear, because that one threw me a bit when I found out that was a German pressing. Thanks for watching. I will be back for another video soon. Cheers.